The chamber was quiet. Too quiet. Every metallic surface reflected the harsh, sterile lights above, but the hum of machinery was deafening in its insistence. I stood in the doorway, my boots clicking against the grated floor. My mission was simple: eliminate the target. But something about this room made me hesitate. She was sitting in the center of the room, her back straight, hands folded neatly in her lap. Her eyes were closed, and her breathing was calm, eerily calm, given the circumstances. The soft hum of the life support systems mingled with her quiet breaths. I could see the faint rise and fall of her chest through the thin material of her uniform. I wasn't sure what I expected. Panic, fear, pleading, but instead, she simply waited. Her name was Lyra Vale, the scientist behind the weapon that could tip the balance of the war. She was brilliant, unyielding, and, according to the intelligence I'd been given, dangerous. But as I stood there, weapon in hand, something else stirred inside me. A question I wasn't supposed to ask. Could I do this? The briefings had painted her as a monster. The report said she had weaponized an energy matrix capable of destroying entire colonies. But standing here, watching her sit in stillness, I saw someone very human. Her eyes opened suddenly, slow at first, and then with startling clarity. They weren't wide with fear. They were calm, resolute, and almost expectant. "I assume you're here to kill me," she said. Her voice was soft, almost melodic, but carried an edge that made me pause. I swallowed. "Yes," I said, though the word felt heavier than it should. "Orders are orders." She tilted her head slightly, as though evaluating me. "Then do it," she said. "I won't run. I won't beg. Just do it." I stepped forward cautiously. Every fiber of my training told me to aim, to finish this quickly. But my hand didn't move. Something about the way she faced me, unafraid, challenged me in ways I hadn't expected. "Why aren't you afraid?" I asked, my voice betraying a hint of curiosity I couldn't suppress. She smiled faintly. "Because fear is a luxury. I've lived my whole life running from those who would harm me. I've survived impossible odds. If this is the end, then it's the end. No point in pretending otherwise." I lowered my weapon slightly. The reports hadn't prepared me for this. They didn't include the moments between the lines, the humanity, the willpower, the quiet defiance. She wasn't a monster. She was a person. And that changed everything. I took another step, keeping my weapon trained on her, but at a less threatening angle. "You're the scientist behind the Nova Ray," I said. "Do you know what you've created?" She chuckled softly. "Yes. And you know what? It doesn't define me. It's a tool, just like your weapon is a tool. One used for destruction, the other for, well, I suppose, temporary peace." I frowned. "Temporary peace." "Yes," she said. "Weapons can end wars, yes. But they don't end the reasons for the wars themselves. They just reset the board. Every time someone like you is sent to eliminate threats, someone like me will be tasked with creating them again. It's a cycle." Her words hit harder than any shot ever could. I had trained my whole life to be the executioner, the one who ended threats before they grew. And yet, in this quiet chamber, facing her, I realized how little of the truth I truly understood. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked, my voice quieter now. "Because you've already made a choice, haven't you?" she said, her eyes scanning my face, searching for something. "You haven't pulled the trigger. And that means you're thinking. Thinking is dangerous for soldiers like you, but it's also human." I couldn't deny it. I was thinking about the consequences, about what my mission truly meant, about whether orders were always worth following. For a long moment, we simply regarded each other, two beings on opposite sides of a war that had stretched across the stars. And then, almost imperceptibly, she shifted forward, placing her hands flat on the floor, as though inviting trust. "Look at me," she said softly. I did, and in her eyes, I saw no fear, no plea for mercy, just understanding. She had accepted her fate, whatever it might be, and yet, somehow, she trusted me not to fulfill it. I lowered my weapon completely. It clattered softly against the metal floor. She blinked once, in surprise, and then a faint smile curved her lips. "You made a choice," she said. "One that could have cost you, but didn't." "Why?" I hesitated, unsure how to answer. Because I realized that killing you wouldn't end anything. It would just continue the cycle. And because I think you're more than what they told me you were. She nodded slowly, as though weighing my words. "I am more than a weapon. And I think perhaps you are more than a soldier following orders blindly." The silence stretched between us. I could hear the distant rumble of the ship beyond the chamber, the mechanical heartbeat of a machine built for war. And then I made a decision that would alter both of our fates. "I'm taking you with me," I said. She raised an eyebrow. "You mean to escape?" "Yes," I said. "You're too important to be destroyed. Too valuable to be left in the hands of those who only see you as a tool. And frankly, I think the universe might need someone like you alive." Her eyes glimmered with something I couldn't quite read: relief, skepticism, or perhaps hope. "You're risking a lot," she said. "More than you know," I replied. And then we moved. The corridors of the facility were a maze of steel and energy conduits, each turn guarded by automated turrets and surveillance drones. But my knowledge of tactical maneuvers and her scientific insight proved an unstoppable combination. She disabled security nodes, while I neutralized patrols silently. It was a dance of trust, each of us relying on the other's skill. At one point, we paused in a maintenance bay. She looked at me, her expression half amused, half serious. "I never thought I'd be running from executioners with one of them as my ally," she said. "Most people don't get that luxury," I said. She smiled faintly. "Then I suppose I'm lucky." We reached the hangar bay just as the alarm started blaring. A shuttle sat waiting, its engines humming softly. I'd prepared it earlier, knowing that if extraction became necessary, this would be our escape. She turned to me. "You trust me enough to fly this?" I smirked. "I trust you enough not to kill me first." The engines roared to life as we launched into the void. Stars streaked past the viewport, a dazzling reminder of how small and fleeting the battles we fought truly were. "I should probably ask," she said, leaning against the control console. "Where are we going?" "Somewhere they won't find us immediately," I said. "Somewhere we can think, plan, and maybe find a better way than endless cycles of death and destruction." She nodded, eyes reflecting the infinite cosmos outside. Perhaps there's hope after all. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, I allowed myself to believe it. That maybe, just maybe, humanity and those who fought alongside it could choose a path beyond mere survival. Over the following days, we traveled through uncharted sectors, relying on old maps and instinct. Slowly, I began to learn more about her and she about me. Lyra wasn't just a scientist. She was a visionary, a thinker who dreamed of peace in a galaxy that had long forgotten the word. And in turn, I wasn't just a soldier. I was someone capable of making choices, shaping destiny rather than following it blindly. We found a habitable planet, one isolated enough to remain unnoticed, yet rich with resources. The first sunrise I saw there was different from any I'd experienced. The light spilled across valleys of crystal-like flora, painting the world in colors I didn't even have names for. Lyra stood beside me, watching. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "Yes," I said. "And it's ours for now." Days turned into weeks and weeks into months. We built a small settlement, a sanctuary from the war and its endless orders. Slowly, she began sharing her knowledge, not as a weapon designer, but as a teacher, innovating ways to make life better, to harness energy without destruction. And in this strange, remote corner of the universe, I realized something profound. I had come to kill her, but in sparing her, I found purpose beyond my orders. I had discovered that courage isn't only in combat, but in choosing what is right when it's hardest. That life isn't defined by the missions we're given, but by the choices we make when no one is watching. One evening, as twin moons rose over the crystalline horizon, she turned to me and smiled. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked. I shook my head. Not once. I came here to end you, but instead, I found a reason to live fully. And maybe, together, we can make sure the universe remembers that humans aren't just destroyers. We can be builders, too. Her eyes glimmered with quiet hope. Then let's build something worth remembering. And so we did. Together. In the vast darkness of space, amid chaos and endless conflict, we carved out a small corner of peace. And in doing so, we proved that humanity, at its best, could choose life over death, hope over fear, and courage over blind obedience. She had thought I came to kill her. Instead, I became her ally, her protector, and eventually her friend. And in a universe that had long forgotten the meaning of trust, we built something new, a legacy not of war, but of life. The stars outside shimmered, indifferent to our struggles, yet somehow brighter, as though acknowledging that even in darkness, humanity could shine. And that, I realized, was worth every risk, every choice, and every moment of doubt.